talking about? Well, implicit vows are the promises that were implied at the altar, but never actually spoken. Whether you realize it or not, you've probably both broken your vows. We all promised to be faithful to each other, but what were we promising to be faithful about? This is where the breakdown occurred in our marriage. When we got married, when we said our vows, we said things like, I promise to be faithful, to hold, to honor. I promise to love in sickness and in health. These are what we call explicit vows. These are the vows you could say are kind of like headings in a contract. They speak in bold, vague terms and leave a lot unsaid. They leave a lot to interpretation. They didn't state the conditions by which the promises would be kept and what would happen or the assumption they were based on. In other words, our vows were missing the fine print of the contract. The fine print is what we call implicit vows. These are the expectations that we each had from the other, that the other didn't know about. Can you see the problem? For example, when one promises to be faithful, it's implied that you won't have sex with anyone other than your mate. Isn't that right? But it's also implied that you won't have sex with anyone but your mate because your mate is filling your sexual needs at a high level. The problem is that the conditions for having sex, the frequency of having sex, and the particulars for what happens during sex are not explicitly detailed, just assumed. It's just implied that we'll all be good. We go into it with high expectations, but very often our expectations are very different, and rightfully so. Does that make sense? Your vows aren't just a promise to be sexually faithful. They're a promise to faithfully love, honor, and cherish each other no matter what life throws at you.